So hi everyone, today in this video we're going to look from another problem that we tend to face in our day-to-day life that obviously so impacts our day-to-day, and that is the most fundamental type of if you look for all the fields of study, probably it's the most fundamental one and the most important one to rule the happiness of everyone. There is economy, and then we're going to look for the problems of that we have in our economy, most focused in the Western, then trying to understand the problems and trying to look for how to solve that problem. So it's a kind of diagnosis and treatment plan for the Western economic crisis. So what you have is some type of critical failures, and we're going to look to surgical fixes. Data sources, we have some of the World Bank, BCB to 2024 reports. So first, zombie capitalism syndrome. What are symptoms of that specific problem? 22% of S&P 500 firms walking dead, surviving on cheap debt. Corporate debt at 150% of GDP. So probably the zombie capitalism syndrome is when you look for S&P, and S&P is one of the ETFs that's more invested in the world. You're going to see that a lot of the revenue that is attached with that type of companies, the reality is that they are attached to as well for the few ones. Some of the few ones are the ones that really generate the revenue. And if you look for the all and the majority, you're going to see like almost or even more than 100 of that firms, they're walking dead. They barely have profits. They're surviving on cheap debt, so they don't have the same they don't have the revenues enough to sustain the costs they have to deal. So they have to so they have to use the tool that is the debt that in the United States they can get it at relatively low type of interest rates, which so obviously it's a way to fully fight this type of problem. But so with that, understanding it, what is like a productivity triage that you can look. Artificial intelligence audits flag firms with ROIC being lower than the weighted average cost of capital, so a mandatory restructuring. And life support tax on unproductivity capital, 0.5% quarterly. As example, Sweden zombie purge freed 12 billion euros for startups. Second, labor capital imbalance. Symptoms: labor share of income reduced from 65% in 1970 to 56% in 2024. CEO worker pay gap 350 to 1. So what are treatments for that? Talent stock markets. Workers earn equity via skill tokens tied to productivity gains. So alignment of incentives is getting applied here. And wage power parity law, max executive compensation equals to 20 times lowest paid worker. Germany co-determinism model, 50% board seats for workers. Another one, asset inflation cancer. What's the symptoms? Housing costs up 200% since 2000 versus wages that have only increased 35%. So the real increase in terms of the power of purchase in comparison, so with looking specifically for houses has been decreased. So people have now less ability to buy houses, to have houses. 90% of key flows to financial assets. And so what are treatments for that? Sovereign wealth democracies. National wealth funds pay universal dividends. Alaska model. And use it or lose it property tax. 5 to 15% levy on vacant land homes. Norway's $1.4 trillion fund pays 25k year citizen dividends. Another one, productivity paradox, symptoms of that. Tech boom, but productivity growth decreased from 3% in 1090 to 0.7%. 83% of artificial intelligence investments automate existing jobs versus creating new. And then, so what are treatments for that? Moonshot capital allocation, 30% pension funds mandate to deep tech, fusion, quantum, and robot productivity tax funds worker retraining. Finland's robot taxes financed 300k reskilling grants. Another one, externality bankruptcy. What's the symptoms of that? Environmental damage equals to 20% of global GDP, unpaid. 7 trillion here fossil subsidies versus 1 trillion green investments. Treatment for that. Truth pricing mandate, CO2 cost embedded in how produced services. And green KA, central banks buy only climate positive assets. Canada carbon fee and dividend cut emissions 12% in 5 years. Another one, supply chain fragility. What's the symptoms of that? 73% of firms lack critical component backups. Just in time leads to just too late failures. So treatments for that. Strategic resilience stockpiles, national vaults of chips, meds, rare earths, and 3D printing microfactories, localized production hubs, so lower 50 km radius, so 50 kilometers radius. Ohio's Make Local program cuts import dependence 41%. So the Ohio's example is a good one of this Make Local program that has cut. So import dependence 41%, which so increases the resilience and then so decreases the how much important can be a specific supply chain to satisfy a lot of the needs that people have in some specific locals. Another one to look, economic cognitive dissonance. What's the symptoms here? GDP growth while well-being decreased in 60% of OECD nations. 2008 to 2024, wealth increased 300% for top 0.1%, but has decreased 3% for bottom 90%. So treatment for that, well-being growth index replaces GDP, mental health, laser equality, weighted. Dog, not economics adoption. National budgets kept within planetary boundaries. New Zealand's living standards framework guides whole policies. So it's a lot of policies, a lot of ways that you can hack towards this problem. It's better to kind of create the protocols that integrate what could be the action that you can take instead of being just isolated individually. You can aggregate them so to build a protocol of action that is more complete. So a 90-day economic resuscitation protocol. We have first the debt defibrillation. Convert 30% corporate debt to equity. Student medical debt cancellation via central bank balance sheets. Second, supply chain CPR. Onshore 5 critical industries, chips, pharma, batteries. 3. Wage shock therapy, mandatory 20% profit sharing for workers. A quote here to be looked, we don't need new economic theories, we need the courage to implement what already works. It's something that has come from the mouth of Mariana Mazzucato. Economic vital signs dashboard, so health marker, crisis level, treatment targets. What is a health marker? Labor share of income. The crisis level, 56%, down 90 points percentile since 2000. Treatment targets, 65% by 2030. It's what could be pretended. Wealth Gini Index, crisis level, 0.85 is extreme. So we have a target that is going down to 0.70 by 2035. Planetary overshoot, 1.7 Hz needed. What could be a target is 0.9 Hz by 2040. Implementation blueprints for government sovereign venture funds like the New Zealand's artificial intelligence and antitrust regulations, for citizens that the Dividend Acts get paid for your digital footprint, and time wealth accounts trade income for laser credits. So some actions you can agree with, other ones you can agree with also other ones. You have to look for this as a way to be creative, a way to solve problems. So getting creative in applying mental models to the problems that you face, it's something that helps you to create new solutions, and they already are like the basis of a lot of the solutions that are getting to applied. So with that, I expect that you've liked the video. I expect it was enough so to may like the channel, and I hope to see you in a next one.